You're listening to the Home Staging Show podcast. I'm your host, Cindy Lin. This is the show where we talk about all things real estate, home staging, and selling your home to live or to sell. Welcome back to Season 4. This is Episode 4. Our show is brought to you by our in-house product, EcoJo, the eco-friendly St. Joseph statue home selling kit. In real estate, there's a tradition of burying St. Joseph statues for good luck. But because all the existing products on the market were made with plastic, we made an eco-friendly version named EcoJo. He's all natural, won't harm the earth. For more information, you can visit our website at www.ecojokits.com. That's spelled ECOJOEKITS.com. Hey guys, welcome back to Season 4, Episode 4. Today's the second episode of our three-part mini-series with Mariana Wagner. Mariana has been a real estate agent and a mortgage broker, so she has a very diverse background in real estate. And we actually first met on the internet through the real estate blogging network Active Rain. And I think at the time in 2006, there was very little real estate professionals blogging at the point. So it was actually really nice to have a community like Active Rain where we got to know each other and kind of exchange information and ideas. And it's actually a fairly big network right now. I'm not really on it anymore, but I still see that name pop up kind of everywhere. So I think also we met on the internet through 2006. And so far, we actually probably only met once in person, even though we're both been in the real estate technology space for about 10 years. So it's actually really nice to be able to interview her on the show today and have a really in-depth conversation about real estate and how to sell your house successfully. So she's been in the real estate industry since 2001, running a full-time successful listing and sales team with her husband, Derek. We're going to hear about on the show today as well. Since 2005, she's also been a local and national real estate trainer, specializing in business marketing and GRI. So for those of you who are not familiar with this certification, GRI is something that's for real estate agents, and they go through this series of programs or seminars, and they earn the certification called GRI, stands for Graduate of Real Estate Institute. It's probably one of the largest certification a realtor can get, and you'll see a lot of that appearing on real estate agents' business card. So in 2016, she became a licensed mortgage broker as well. So now she can provide mortgage purchase and refinance loan services to her home buyers and homeowners for her team and also throughout the Front Range area in Colorado. So as I mentioned before, her husband Derek is a real estate agent. Together, they've been the top 1% producing real estate agents in Colorado Springs every year. That is not a small feat, no matter how big or small your market is. So on today's show, you're going to hear about how they're able to achieve such success through a lot of teamwork, communication, also leveraging technology tools. And it's been a really fascinating conversation, really, because Mariana is so knowledgeable about real estate in general. We had a really in-depth conversation about marketing and also mindset and then also what, just little tips that sellers can do to really make a drastic difference in their sales. So I think whether if you're a real estate agent or homeowner or a home stager listening to this show today, you're going to get a lot out of today's conversation. So just a quick update for those of you who are interested in the Cash and the Cushion business course. I'm in the process of having a friend of mine doing the graphics for the logo for the mini course and the boot camp. And once that's done, I'm going to make the lunch early bird special page live. It's going to be sometime next week for those of you who are interested to get your hands on the business course. And for those of you who are not familiar about the course, it's something I've been working on, pretty much writing intensively and kind of tweaking the outline for the past few weeks. This is something that I've been trying to accomplish in a few years now. I have had this idea of helping home stagers just really establish their business in the field in a profitable and also ethical way that's going to be very beneficial to the consumer. Because I really believe that's how we're going to change the industry as well, through all these amazing home staging business and home stagers who are just doing phenomenal jobs for their clients. So a little bit more about the course. The course is going to be 2 parts. The first part is going to be the mini course, which is a ebook format that's going to launch later this month, toward the end of the month. It's really designed for those of you who are interested in entering the field of home staging or literally just started. It's something that you've been thinking about as a career and you don't know how to get started into it. So in the ebook, I'm going to talk about how you can start your profitable home staging business in 30 days or less. I'm going to get into how I personally got started as a home stager, how other people I've known to got started in the business, different business models for the home stagers, ways you can make money as a home stager, some brief overview on pricing your service, how to market yourself in the beginning, and also going over stuff like website, building your portfolio, copyright issues you should be aware of when you're working with photos, and photographers, building a successful relationship with your team and vendors, and how to position yourself in the marketplace. More importantly, common mistakes you can make as a home stager and how to avoid them, and roughly how much it will cost to start the business, and also vision for your business. We're going to talk about short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. It's an ebook format, but it's also a workbook. There are going to be worksheets for you in the book to work through so you can set a really strong foundation for your business. The second part is a full boot camp. It's going to be a full business course with 6 modules. It's designed for those of you who started your business already and you want more guidance on how to build a profitable business. In the mini course, of course, we go over the foundation, but in the full course, it's going to be really a boot camp for you to really drill down and then to really expand upon your foundation. I'm also going to let you pretty much look behind the curtain on all the business operations that I run for my business, what I did really well, what I've learned, and what I wish I've done instead to avoid those costly mistakes. This course is going to focus on going more in depth about pricing, for example. It's going to talk about working with clients, technology and tools that you can leverage, things that I use all the time, marketing strategies, hiring, how I hire and train my team members, what worked really well and what worked terribly, and what I wish I've done better. There's going to be legal side of things as well. I'm going to show you my contract, for example, why I wrote it this way, why my lawyer put in this, and that, like things you definitely want to avoid on the legal standpoint. Templates that I use, workflow I've created, and scripts. I use a lot of scripts for a lot of different things. I have email scripts about asking for contracts and late payments, following up with clients, dealing with client objections like, hey, can you offer me a discount? That type of thing. It's really beneficial for me personally because it really takes emotion out of the business. And a lot of times when you have client conflicts, it's usually because you got personal. So I'm going to go over how to avoid those things. The bootcamp will come out around Thanksgiving time. This way you have all the holiday breaks and January to work on your business for a new year. If you're interested, you can sign up to be notified by signing up for the email list on the show notes. I'm going to put a sign up link there for those of you who are interested. So without further ado, let's start the show.
I'm glad somebody reached out on my behalf to you for it, so thank you. Yeah. There's a couple people on Facebook who brought it up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that would be so much fun. Woo!
No, it is really a lot of fun because you get to really talk to a lot of different people about what they're really good at, and it's really amazing to hear people's story. And I think it's also, it like brings different perspective for homeowners as well, because I think it's hard. I mean, if you never sold a house before, even if you sold a house before, I mean, it's still something that you have to navigate. And you really have to have somebody who knows what they're doing to help you to do that. Because it's really difficult. I mean, we do this for a living, but it's really different for a homeowner. Yeah, it's really, I mean, there's so many moving pieces to what we do. Mm-hmm. And so many things can happen very quickly. So it's really important, like, to have conversations like this. And
I think so, too.
To kind of like, I don't know, to show behind the curtain, I guess, in a way, Because I think most homeowners really don't have an idea of what we do.
They have no idea.
Yeah. So I think it's good to have conversations like this. And for me too, just I don't know everything about real estate. I think it would be ridiculous to have a show for me to talk all the time. And
I know.
It's much better to just have somebody to be on the show and share their expertise and what they're really good at. So,
and that's the best because, everyone brings a little something different to the table anyway, which is awesome.
Yeah. So do you want to get started by telling us a little bit about yourself? And so how did you get started in real estate?
So Derek's my husband. We've been married now for about 21 and a half years or so. And back in 2001, Derek comes from a background, he was a chef for a while, then he restored old Volkswagens, and he's like, he's always had like this keen eye for the market, whether it was different kinds of investments or real estate, and everyone's like, you should be a realtor, people get that. But he's like, fine, I will. And he went, he studied really hard. He's dyslexic, so helping him study for the real estate exam was pretty much my full-time job because he gets it, he knows it all, but when you're looking at the words on paper, sometimes that's kind of throws a wrench in the works. And so I was just helping him with that, work through that, because back in 2001, not near the technology that there is even today, And so, helping him with that. So I had like this underlying knowledge of real estate so he could pass the real estate exam, and he passed it. When I took my test later, like 2 years later, he did better on his test than I did on my test. So there's that. But, but he got in there, and I just wound up helping him with, the back end of things. I didn't do sales. I just did contracts and marketing and, ordering business cards and just kind of like that stuff. Sometimes salespeople, they're really good at doing what they do and leaving a hurricane in their wake, like chaos behind them. And I was just organizing the chaos behind them so he can continue to be successful. And then a couple of years into it, I'm like, you know what? I was working special education at the high school level. And I said, I think I need to just go full time into real estate. So in 2003, I went full time into real estate, and I worked with him full time since then. We were with Keller Williams for many years, and now Derek is with a local brand here called the Platinum Group, and I technically am independent because I'm also a mortgage broker, and I can't do both within a brokerage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
But I like to keep relevant with the real estate community. So I maintain my memberships with NAR and, the local and regional memberships, mostly because I'm a GRI trainer. So I train realtors. I've always trained realtors, and I still like doing that regardless whether I'm doing mortgages or real estate or whatnot. So I still have to work with all of his marketing and such, but that's kind of where we are now. And Derek maintains the spot in the top 1% of producing agents in our city, and he's done that for about the last 10 years.
That is so amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and sometimes it's completely chaotic and crazy, but overall it's a lot of fun.
So what is the local real estate market like for you guys?
Well, we're not Denver, so there's that. That's always nice. Denver is about an hour north of us. We're in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So we're about an hour south of Denver. We have about 6 military bases. So
wow.
24% of our population moves in and out every single year. So we have a bit of a transient population, which can be good and cannot be good. But what's really nice about that is it keeps our market relatively stable. So in markets like this where it is complete insanity in some cities, we're seeing some of that insanity, but not at that level. But then again, when the market goes the other direction and everything is horrible, we're not quite that horrible either. So
that's good.
We have this level of consistency. However, it has been crazy. Anything under $300,000 Our average sales price is like mid 200s. So anything
Wow.
over 300 is like selling immediately in the right circumstances. We can talk about that later, but and it has been crazy, but the craziness has kind of leveled off in the past couple months. It hasn't gone down, but it stopped going up. So we're kind of at this leveled off crazy market. So it's still crazy, but it's just not, we can kind of catch up with ourselves a bit now.
Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really crazy couple of years, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, it's when markets like this for me are kind of harder to acclimate to than, back in like 2007, 8, and 9. Those markets, for whatever reason, are easier to acclimate to. They're just changing so incredibly fast that by the time you think you've got some bit of knowledge on what's about to happen, it's totally different the next morning when you wake up.
Why do you think that is?
Back about 10 years ago, 9, 8 years ago, it was due to lack of money. And so when people have lack of money, they're a little bit more cautious about, what they're doing. And I think that maybe there's just a little bit more caution, even though there were some, clearly there were foreclosures and short sales and things like that. There was still, people just wound up paying a little bit more attention to what's happening. And when people have more money, they just start throwing money at things. And it's less predictable. People are not paying attention and they're just like, well, then I'll just pay more for it. I don't care what's happening. It's sinking into a hole. I don't care. I'll buy it. I want it. I need it. That crazy herd mentality of you got to get it no matter what, and I think that's, I can't work with that.
That's pretty insane right now. And
Yeah.
I'm actually really super excited about having you on the show. And not just because I know you from blogging and social media and kind of like the whole active ring, the beginning part,
Oh,
but
yeah.
because you being a realtor a long time, your husband Derek is also a realtor and in the top 1%. And you also do training as well. So I know one
Hmm.
of your specialty in training is real estate listing. So
It's
what
my
are some of the
favorite.
things that you go over in your training when it comes to listings?
When it comes to listings, I mean, clearly there's the underlying, be a good agent, do your job. But I think when it comes to listings, there's the most important thing is communication. You need to be in active communication with your clients at all times regarding everything. And I think that is a really good umbrella for everything else. The two most important things under that umbrella, though, in my opinion, is pricing and condition.
Hmm.
And, for pricing, I think that, excuse me, I think that with pricing, even in this market, you have to be proactive about, okay, what do you think this home is going to sell for? Because people who think, oh, well, this market is crazy, I can get whatever I want. There are still homes in our MLS that aren't selling and they've been on the market for 30 or 45 days. I'm going to tell you right now, they're overpriced. I don't even have to look at the MLS listing because there's no way if there is a home that is still on the market after a month and it hasn't sold, then it's clearly overpriced. So you can be overpriced in an amazing seller's market, just because buyers, they don't want to play the game. You got to be somewhere in the ballpark before they start playing the game. If you're too far out, they're like, wow, you're unrealistic. I don't even want to start working with you. I'll find another house.
Mm.
So, you know, and then condition, because so let's say pricing. Oh, well, it's priced somewhere in the ballpark. But then they go looking, they can't picture themselves there is a huge thing. So clearly you will identify with this, but we pay for staging for every single one of our listings.
Mm, that's
And
great.
we went several years ago. Well, gosh, it's probably more than several years ago now. 2005 or six. We went 3 months without our stager because she transitioned into being a full-time realtor in a different state, and we just weren't proactive about finding a new stager.
Hmm.
And our showings were cut in half, and our time on the market doubled.
Wow.
It was so scary. We're like, what the heck happened? Because we talk to other agents in the market all the time about what's going on, get a pulse, get a feel for the pulse of the market. Everyone's like, no, everything's fine. We're like, what are we doing wrong? And it was the staging. And, so we ran out, we found ourselves a new stager, and everything picked right back up again. And I think people are more receptive to it now because I don't like the letters HGTV very much, but I do think that they have planted a good seed with the homeowning public with, hey, staging is a big deal. It's a good thing to have. And so, what I love is that after I come in, because I do all the real estate photos for our properties, and or most of them, and I come in after our stager's been there, and there was like, oh my gosh, I love my house now. I don't know if I want to move.
Right. Yes.
So, but I can go on, and Derek has a whole script that he uses when he talks to sellers about pricing and about how effective pricing is going to get you the most money for the home, and all the statistics surrounding that, and then as far as the condition is also important because you have a product to sell. And so, and how he compares it to is, the grocery store. You're going to have the cucumber that's sitting there, and then you're going to have the nice waxy cucumber, and people will want the nice waxy shiny cucumber. It's just how they are, So
that's so fascinating. Well, there's so many questions from that question. So, okay, why don't you like HGTV? I'm just curious.
Well, I think the biggest problem that we have as real estate agents regarding HGTV is the fact that they encapsulate an entire transaction and emotional roller coaster into a 30-minute segment, so I think the unrealistic expectation behind the HGTV is that, oh, well, we'll just completely renovate the house real quick. Or we're going to just buy this whole of a house and completely renovate it real quick for some really low amount of money that just doesn't work. Or, for example, the other thing that kind of throws us off is here in Colorado Springs, we're not a walking city. Our walk score is like, we don't get walk scores because you can't walk anywhere here. We're not allowed to have walk scores here. We're banned from them. But part of it is there's no walk scores. And the majority, like I said, 24% of our population is moving in and out. So they're buying and selling their home not from here. And so open houses. And they do a big thing about, oh, I had an open house and 700 people showed up and I got 52 offers over asking price and sold it in 3 hours. Well, maybe you can sell it in 3 hours in this market, but not via an open house. Open houses don't have the effect that they do on TV, especially here in Colorado Springs. And so unlearning that from our sellers is sometimes a little bit challenging. But if they want an open house, they can have one, but we're not bringing in camera crews to lure in people to just have bodies in the house,
That's a really interesting point because I think that's where real estate gets really interesting because it's really different from market to market.
Absolutely.
And I think in some areas, I've interviewed agents where they're like, we got an open house, like 200 people and the house was sold then. But obviously that doesn't work in your market.
Phoenix is a great place to do open houses.
Yeah.
Colorado is not.
Yeah. And I think that's also really correct because I think the same complaint stagers have about HGTV. It's just because a lot of it is TV, so like a lot of it is for like dramatization.
Yes.
I mean, and then I have been involved in filming as well. And my cousin, his friends actually, when they bought the first house, they were on an HGTV show. And then, but the thing was that the producer kept going like, okay, now I want you to be more surprised. Like, I want you to be happier. So, like, that actually really ruined it for them in a way because they have to manufacture how excited they were. Now, it wasn't like they weren't excited, but they just weren't TV
now it's
excited.
all melodramatic.
Yeah, they just were not TV excited. So, like, so I think it's interesting to hear kind of everybody's perspective on what the TV show is like.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I think part of the expectations is is that, and setting the correct expectations is difficult when you're trying to pitch a TV show versus when you're trying to actually sell a house.
Yeah, definitely very different. I mean, because they want to do it for ratings, so like you need
Yeah.
people to be very dramatic about it, and that's why like
Mhm.
that $1 Million Listing show is so good because they're constantly fighting on that show. And in real life, they probably don't fight that much, and it's all for
No.
television.
Oh yeah. My kids dance. Both of them. Well, I had talked to you earlier about one of them's more on the production side of things now, but my 13-year-old boy, he dances. So technically I'm a dance mom. I've watched that one show, Dance Mom, like 3 times. I'm like, there is no way that is accurate.
Yeah, I'm like, do people really behave like that? They can't be. I
know.
can't honestly see
It's
people react like that.
Absolutely. And like you said, you kind of got a peek onto the backside, the back end of how one of those shows work. And going back to the Dance Mom thing, they do actually go to productions and stuff. And, people I know have been at competitions with that crew. They're not like that. But then the minute the cameras go on, they're like that.
Yeah, because then they get more airtime out of it
Exactly.
too. Yeah. I went to Berkeley for undergrad, and they used to recruit. Remember MTV had that show Road Rules and Real House?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They used to recruit a lot from Berkeley because a lot of Berkeley kids go on that show and they will act really crazy.
Yeah.
But they do it on purpose. They know that's how they get airtime, and then
Exactly.
they can book more shows and do more TV appearances.
Yeah. So it's just making sure that your client knows that is a TV show and that's not reality. It's kind of like, it's just an example, an overview, an entertainment version of what's happening,
Yeah. And so you also mentioned that Derek uses script to talk to sellers. Is it okay to ask like what some of the things that he talked to sellers about?
He talks about, he basically talks about, he said like the ingredients for making a successful home sale. Coming from a background of being a chef, he's always making these food analogies all the time. And so he does this thing, he's like, there's the ingredients, there's pricing, there's condition, and there's marketing. And, the pricing, you got to price it correctly, because then when we launch into the marketing, it's hard to market an overpriced home because it's a waste of everyone's time and money.
Yeah.
So, and then it's hard to market a home in poor condition because, again, it's a waste of everyone's time and money. So it all goes together to make a successful sale. You have to have it priced correctly to reflect a good, nicely, staged and clean condition. And then we just launch our whole marketing plan, which is a combination of a lot of different things, and to try to really reach all the potential buyers possible. But it's basically, it's that marriage. It's not just price. It's not just marketing. It's not just condition. It's how they all work together.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it is like a recipe. Everything needs to work harmoniously together, and then the dish will taste good.
Yep.
That's interesting. And so you guys are the top producing team in Southern Colorado, right? You're top 1% producing.
Yeah, we're one of the top producing teams in Southern Colorado, Colorado Springs, Front Range. Yep.
And then you're top 1% national, right?
I'm not sure where we stand nationally now that we're not with Keller Williams. We could with the metrics that we used when we were with Keller Williams, we were in the top 5% of Keller Williams teams. But now that we are either independent or with independent brokerage, it's harder to obtain those metrics. I'm sure there's a way we could figure it out, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. But yeah, we're definitely up there. So
yeah, but either way, it's all very impressive. So what do you think attribute to your success as listing agents?
I think that, the biggest thing with us is that, we stay in active communication with our people. The number one complaint with sellers that whose homes expire or cancel is that they feel like their listing agent didn't do anything. Like they just stuck a sign in the yard, threw their home in the MLS, and disappeared right off the face of the earth. And so I think communication is key. and nothing is too small. So we use am I allowed to name drop just because of things I use?
Sure.
All right. So we use a product called Brivity. And what we do is we plug all of our sellers into Brivity. And what it does is it gives us the ability to keep track of all the marketing, anything, like if we use flyers, we build the flyer box. That is a task that we've done. If I happen to go to a social event with other realtors and I talk about their house, I'm going to put that in there so they know that I'm actively talking about their house. If I put an ad or a post on Facebook about their house, that goes in there with a link to it. When the house is listed on Zillow or on Realtor.com, they get those links. All of that gets managed inside of the Brivity application, and then they get notified via email. Hey, this is what's happening, and it just keeps this running list, and it's pretty impressive because if you do keep track of everything that you do for sellers, they can look back and go, wow, I can't say they didn't do anything for me,
Mm-hmm.
And then just staying in contact, following up with all feedback. I would say about a third of all the houses that we list that go under contract are a direct result of, Derek following up with feedback saying, hey, you said that you liked the home, and then he talks to the agent and gets him to write an offer, and a lot of people ignore that aspect and never get an offer because they don't follow up with the agent because maybe there were questions the agent had that weren't answered, and Derek can answer them because they're right there.
Interesting. So you think that actually follow-up contribute a lot to closing the deal?
Absolutely.
You think that's something so basic, but not enough people do it seems like.
People, I joke around like, I don't like talking to people. I don't like people. And there's a lot of truth to that. I don't like a lot of people, but, but we're in the business. We're in a people business,
Yeah, we are.
I'm not in a business where I don't have to talk to people. I'm in a business where if I don't talk to people, I'm out of business,
Right.
and so sometimes people do the absolute minimum communication, or they hide behind the computer, whether, for whatever reason, or they hide behind their phone. And if you're not out there, like making those connections, you're losing things. You're losing relationships. You're losing opportunities. You're losing sales.
That is very true. That's the thing. Real estate is really a people business. And
It is.
if you don't like people, you're kind of out of luck on that one.
Seriously. Yeah. And, technology can help us, but it doesn't replace anything. It just enhances things if you do it correctly.
I think so too. I know there's a lot of agencies that are very big on online transaction, but at the end of the day, there's people behind those online transactions.
Exactly.
So it's really important for an agent to have really good relationship and really good communication with everyone involved in a transaction.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and from my end as well, because I'm technically like a vendor, right? I'm a stager. I come in, I work with a real estate agent, but I also found that most successful agents I've worked with are really good on communication. They're really good at communicating what kind of listing, like what kind of look their listings want to look like to make sure it attract the right buyers for them.
Exactly.
Usually when it's really stressful, it's usually when the agent don't communicate at all.
Oh, absolutely. 100% of the time. You give me an agent that doesn't communicate, I will give you a house that won't sell.
Yeah. And so what does a workday look like for you guys to get such great results for your sellers?
As far as that, our workday, our workday is crazy. Every day is new, a new adventure in real estate. But let's say, let's take it as a, okay, we're about to get a listing. Derek goes on a listing appointment. They go, yay, we want to list with you. Now what? What we do is first, I want to be on the market tomorrow. And Derek's like, that's great. No, I'm not just going to throw you out on the market. We have at least a week of activities before we can put you on the market because your first day on the market is important. You're going to get the most money in those first few days on the market. And that's based 100% on how we put you on the market. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to get my stager. Half the time that he's there, he gets our stager to call them within 20 minutes of him leaving that listing appointment to schedule something. So I would say on average, our stager meets with our sellers within the first 2 days. And then within the first 3 days, depending on when the stager gets there, I or our other photographer will go out and do the photos, depending on the house. If it's, a higher end home or it's in a particularly amazing location, we do have some aerial drone photography that will get in there. We also have someone who draws out floor plans, and we'll get that. And we use floor plan online, so we'll get all these floor plans and we upload them, and it's kind of a lot of fun to work with. But so we'll do that, and that the level depends. I mean, if we're talking about a condo, we're probably not going to do aerial photography.
Yeah, so it would be a waste of money.
Yeah, but if you're talking about a $600,000 house nestled in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, then yeah, we might want to do some aerial photography. We do that, and then we, process it. So, I mean, the bare minimum for a listing to effectively go from we want to list to now we're on the market is the bare minimum is 4 to 5 days. And then Derek is very particular. He's like, your home is going to go on the market on a Wednesday or a Thursday, because that's when agents start pulling lists of homes to look at for the weekend. And we want your home to be the new listing on their list. And so timing matters, so it's usually, my Tuesdays and Wednesdays are pretty booked out with photo jobs, because we need homes on the market for Wednesday and Thursday. So.
And typically, how many listings are you guys juggling at one point?
I would say that it's hard to say now because they go under contract so quickly, but we have about 6 active and 9 or 10 under contract. We just, like I said, we just switched brokerages, so we did a little bit of restructuring. But I think on average we hold about 15 either active or active under contract.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. That's exciting. And
I like listings.
And so it sounds like you guys rely on technology a lot.
We do. We rely on technology for a lot, yeah.
And what are some of the apps that you use all the time? I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's absolutely. So as far as so for marketing, if it's we'll put their home on Pinterest only because sellers want their home on Pinterest. I don't think there's a lot of people going, "Oh, I'm going to go to Pinterest to find myself a new house to buy." But half the marketing we do is for our sellers, not to collect buyers anyway, because there's a balance between the marketing you do to satisfy what your sellers want and to, on the same side, attract the right buyers. So, so we do all the social media sites, the Pinterest and the Instagram and all that fun stuff. And for the marketing, as far as what we use for technology, I talked a little bit about, we use the Brivity program. We use floor plans online. And, I think Derek does a lot of BombBomb also, which seems to be great. He'll go to the property before it's listed, and he puts together a BombBomb video. Are you familiar with BombBomb?
No, I've never heard of them.
Oh, BombBomb. We love BombBomb.
The name sounds very catchy.
Yeah, right? We've been using them forever, and then we realized they're based right here in Colorado Springs. How funny.
Oh.
But they're awesome. So what it is, it's this phone app, and you can send video text messages to a database of people or video emails, and it's just super user friendly to send videos. And so what we do, Derek will, if he can't connect with someone, let's say we get a lead from Zillow or a lead from wherever, and he calls and he's not able to get through to him, he'll record a quick video on his phone. It's like, hey, this is Derek. You registered on our site regarding 1234 Sesame Street, and I'd love to tell you a little bit more about it. You can call or text me when you have a few minutes. And he sends that through BombBomb, and then he gets notified if the person opens it, if they watch it, all that stuff. But what he likes to do is he makes little videos of our listings right before they go on the market, and then he puts it on Facebook. He sends it to all his agent friends. He sends it to our list of buyers, and so people get like a sneak peek of the house, at least part of it. And he's gotten some really incredible results, specifically sending it out to agents.
That sounds amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah, he enjoys that. I use it from time to time. He's kind of more of a nut about it, but it works for him though. He has a great personality, and so it really shines through.
That's awesome.
And people love videos, so.
Yeah, it seems like there's more and more video marketing in real estate now.
Yeah. Finally, I remember back in 2004, people like, video is the future of real estate. And then 2005, video is the future of real estate. 2008, video is the future. 2010, 2012, finally, 2016, we're starting to see that video is the future of real estate.
I know, especially like nowadays, I mean, with Facebook too, now you can just do a live video on Facebook, and that's like all the rage now. Like all the big brands are doing it.
Oh, I know. It's great.
Yeah, it's insane. And so you also mentioned Pinterest. I've never heard that before. So you actually put your listing on Pinterest.
I will, yeah. I will. I use Pinterest. I'm like, why not if I'm already going to be on there? So I have a little Pinterest board with our listings.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's fun. The best thing is that we have, when we go to talk to sellers and we're sitting down, and I am not being sexist by any stretch of the imagination, but it's always the woman. It's never been the man who's like, oh, yeah, my home's going to be on Pinterest. Totally excited about it. Now, that said, I think Derek's more of a Pinterest fanatic than I am.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so we like to put it on there, and there again, it's exposure. You never know.
Yeah.
If one person finds their home that way, then heck, it's worth it. It's not like it cost me anything, and our sellers think it's great.
And do you look at the stats on Pinterest, like what are your repin rates and all that for your listings on Pinterest?
They're pretty low. We do get a few likes here and there, but I'm thinking those likes are our clients.
Okay.
So it's not, like I said, it's not like a, wow, this is the next big thing. Again, I think it's more a part of the package. Like I wouldn't just do Pinterest marketing because I don't think that'd be effective.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. But I think it would be also interesting if you put them, I'm just spitballing here, but if you put them on the website, on Pinterest as a case study about, for example, how you presented this home, I wonder if you can get more repins. I'm just curious.
I wonder. Yeah.
There's a lot of times.
That would definitely be something to look into.
Yeah, because a lot of times people go on Pinterest, they really are looking for ideas. I mean, like, especially design community, like, we go on Pinterest all the time to look for ideas. So, yeah, I think it would make sense. Yeah, I never thought of that. That's such a brilliant idea.
I think it's great. And I think, that said, Zillow Digs, have you seen that?
I have.
Yeah, I think that kind of takes that concept too. I just don't think it really has gained a lot of traction yet. But I think that's right in the same vein of what you're talking about. It's like, not that you're not trying to sell the house so much as you're promoting the house because of some design, whether it's the kitchen or the way the furniture was arranged or something about it, not necessarily the house itself, but in promoting an aspect of the house, you're promoting the house and you're definitely getting it more exposure.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, like house.com, HOUZZ.com. A lot of homeowners are on there all the time looking for ideas. And I think Zillow Dig is trying to copy that a little bit.
I definitely think so too.
Yeah. Sorry, Zillow. Sorry, Jay.
Sorry. Okay, Jay. No.
So in your opinion, what makes a successful seller's agent?
I think, really, I mean, being a successful seller's agent is knowing how to price a property. So you really need to understand the market that you're in. I think a successful real estate agent isn't going to go outside of their knowledge base. So if you've never sold condos, maybe you shouldn't list a condo, because the regulations and everything about condos are totally different than a single family house. If you're whole career you have been selling, your 3-bed, 2-bath homes and the like, maybe selling a $1.5 million house, is something that maybe you should consider co-listing with someone who knows what they're doing. I think going outside of your wheelhouse is dangerous. I think you should do it, but you should do it carefully. Don't just take on something you're not familiar with. And I'd say that for geographic reasons too. Technically, I can sell a house anywhere in Colorado. I do not think that I understand the Brighton, Colorado real estate market well enough to effectively list and sell a home and do service to my sellers up there, because I don't know anything about the market there.
Yeah, it's the same for me with staging. I don't really like to go out of my normal activity area just because, I mean, even within, because my studio is based in South San Francisco, which is Seminole County, and then the San Francisco County, even just within the two counties, things might look very different depending on where you are. So sometimes it's very difficult, even within the county, to make sure that you're hitting the right styling and the look for the house. So yeah, I totally understand that.
And different norms, and like, this open concept is what everyone wants here. And then you go over, like, you just go a few miles away and people are like, no, I don't want to look at my kitchen. That's gross.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I think that, and then, knowledge of your market, and then knowledge, being able to price it. And then honestly, again, that umbrella of communication, staying in contact. Being successful is staying in contact. Good news or bad news, you just need to be in contact with your people.
Do you think a real estate agent needs to be well-liked to be a successful real estate agent?
Well-liked?
Yeah, because I remember in our county, there's this agent that's one of the top producers in the county, but he is kind of shady and no one wants to do business with him, but he's still a top producing agent.
I think you burn your bridges that way, but here's the thing. There's well-liked and there's not well-liked, and then there's shady. I think that there's kind of three there. I think that there are agents here that I don't particularly like, but I would totally trust them to sell my house, and then there's people who, if they wrote an offer on a property that we had listed, I would run screaming away from it because I don't trust them, and they could be nice as pie, but I don't trust them because they are shady. And some of these shady agents do a lot of business because they have a lot of charisma.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like homeowners can't see that. They don't understand it. So like, how can a homeowner know who's a good one to hire?
Testimonials all day long. I would say testimonials are good. I would say, if you're concerned, if it's an active concern about a specific agent, you might want to just consider trust your gut too. There's people who are like, if you gotta, I don't know how to say it. You sit down across from somebody like, I'm going to have to be married to you from the time I sign this contract until we close. I have to be okay with that. I have to like either how you do business or how you do business and your personality. There's people that we haven't worked with just because it wasn't a good fit, and that's fine. That's totally fine. In fact, that's good.
Yeah.
But
because at the end of the day, it's a business. And I think a lot of times homeowners don't necessarily realize that. Like, at the end of the day, this is a business. It's a business transaction. And that's why you can't get so emotionally vested in your house and get offended by maybe color choices or the things that the stagers bring in. You just can't. Because at the end of the day, it's a business decision.
And you're trying to get rid of your house. Why do you care?
I understand, but we can't say that to the clients. Like, why do you care?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sure. But I don't like that rug. Okay. Well, you don't have to live here with it, so you're good.
I'm sure that some stagers' wet dream just be like, what do you care?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what am I didn't know I was an interior designer for your home you're about to live in for the next 30 years. No, I'm a stager so you can get your home sold to someone who will live here for the next 30 years.
Yeah. So there is a difference. Yeah. So we do politely and, remind the sellers, but
I think that's what a successful stager does, is able to educate the consumer to understand that it is a transaction and it's not a personal attack on their design choices.
No, and it actually doesn't really feel very good to tell a homeowner that, I'm sorry, but your couch is really not going to
Yes.
work for today's
Yeah.
buyers. I mean, there's no nice way to say it, and trust me, no
No,
stagers like to say it. It's an awkward conversation.
it is. It is awkward, but it works. At the end of the day, when they can see, oh my gosh, this totally makes sense. It's one of those that you kind of just got to wait for the whole thing to be done, and then you look and go, wow, that was totally worth it.
And so, what are some of the warning signs that homeowners should be aware of if they're working with an agent that's not right for them?
If they don't communicate with them, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but seriously, if they're not going to communicate with them, that's not why. Why aren't they? Either are they too busy? You don't want an agent that's so busy they can't communicate with you, because that means they're not communicating with people who might want to buy the house. Why are they not communicating? They got something to hide? Are they lazy? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why. So you want to make sure your agent's communicating with you. And also too, let's say you go, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna, this is my uncle's best friend. I didn't do any research, but I'm gonna use my uncle's best friend. And then you're like, I don't know what's going on. Google them. Go find, reviews that have been written. And if you feel like there's something worth researching, research it. I guarantee it's fine. If you feel this way, somebody else felt this way.
Yeah, I feel like in today's day and age, it's really hard to hide from internet, especially if you do a terrible job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people might not be so quick to write a positive Yelp review, but they will definitely write a really bad Yelp review.
Oh, I know. I was thinking about that. It's like I always try, when I have a great experience, I always try to write a good review, whether it's on Google or Yelp or whatnot, or on Facebook, because I know that if I have a bad, I'm very well spoken online, and I know that if I have a bad time, that's also going out there. So I want to make sure I'm pretty balanced. So I have to make a conscious effort to write my good reviews.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. Every time I write a bad Yelp review, it's always because I'm really angry about what happened, not because I was being unreasonable. But then I was like, but then that would be like all bad reviews on my Yelp account, so I have to write a good one.
I know. So yeah, I'm like, no, I don't want to be that person. So yes, I loved my ice cream the other night. It was amazing.
Exactly. I don't want to be like that horrible, mean person who only writes bad
I'm not a troll, I promise.
And so in your experience, where do sellers usually run into blocks when it comes to selling their home?
I think the sellers run into the roadblocks of understanding value. Like what is the definition of value? Well, the definition of value is what a ready, willing, and able person is willing to pay for your home right now. And then you got to throw in, oh, well, if they're getting a loan, which most people do get a mortgage, it's not just what the buyer wants to pay for the house, it's what the bank is willing to lend on the house. So now you're not just dependent on value for future, like what someone would pay for your house. Now you have to go to the appraisal, which only depends on what people have paid for similar houses in the past. So now you got to look backwards and forwards to determine what the value of a house is. And, you really need experience in your corner when you're figuring that one out. That's why realtors are good, because they do that full time. Mm-hmm. Full-time agent does that full time.
True. Very true. Part-time agent only does it part-time.
Exactly. So, so it's trusting the agent's ability to put the house in the correct price range. Is it an exact science? Absolutely not. It's a very nice gray area, but it is still a gray area. But it's still pretty precise. You can't be too far out of that target zone.
And so, in your experience, can you usually tell if the listing will sell quickly, or maybe there's going to be a little bit problems when you go into it? What are some of the signs of a listing that will sell really quickly?
Okay, a listing that's going to sell quickly has a lot to do with the seller, their motivation. So if somebody's like, I don't really need to sell, but if I can get this much for it, then I will do it. Then I'm like, okay, well maybe it'll sell if they're ready to listen to us on a bunch of things. Maybe we'll price it on the higher side of that gray area of that spectrum, and it might take a little bit less, but as long as they're willing to work with us, then that would be great. So that might take a little bit longer, but they got to be reasonable. Or someone's like, nope, I need to sell for the, I need the money. I need the time frame is more important to me than the amount of money I get. So now, they're willing to work with us to get that home sold. But somebody who's going to push back on everything. So, hey, we think your house is worth between this and this. And like, well, we want it to be this because the house across the street, blah, 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 blah. And then you get pushed back about the staging. And then you get pushed back about, different things. Then okay, well, this is going to be a difficult transaction if they even get an offer. So a lot of it, again, it's like everyone has to work together.
Yeah,
and
I totally
And if
agree.
one party's not working together, then you don't have a transaction.
Very true. And then what are some of the best advices when it comes to getting the home ready to go on the market?
I think the best thing is, listen to the professionals in your life. I think getting the home in the condition where a buyer could walk in and go, I could live here as my house, instead of, hey, this is somebody else's house that I'm moving into. It's a mindset, and they want to be able to see it as their potential home, not they're taking somebody else's house away. And I think that, so circling back to staging, that fixes that problem immediately. And then the other thing that I found is really interesting with people is carpet and paint. But Derek's always like, buyers will walk into a house and they will say, I could move this pony wall. I could rearrange this whole kitchen and and they can, like, in their mind picture all these major renovations. And they're like, yeah, but then you walk into a house with bad carpet and paint and they're like, ew, look at the carpet. I don't want this house. Like they can't see past the carpet and paint. He's always talking about that. We bought the house we're in now a couple years ago, but a little over a year and a half ago. And we're out looking at homes. And what does he do? We walk into a house and the carpet is horrible. He's like, ew, the carpet's horrible. I can't live here. I'm like, dude, you can change the carpet. And he's like, oh, I guess so. I'm like, you did exactly what all these other buyers do. You can't see past it. So we advise our sellers, if you have, if you need to replace the carpet or you need to paint, do it. Do not offer, like a, what do you call it?
Like a credit back or something.
Yeah, like a credit back or like whatever, like a gift card, because people can't see past the carpet and paint. Just do it. Just do it.
That is really funny. But I think it's because carpet and paint, they usually cover such a large area of the home. It's really hard to see past it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Yeah. That's a really good tip.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you've added mortgage as well to your area expertise. Can you walk us through about what does a mortgage broker do for home buyers and home sellers?
Well, for home buyers, it's a little more clear cut. We get their whole financial picture together and put them, through the system and find a loan program that works for them. Like my mission statement as a mortgage professional is to provide superior customer service while securing the best rate, term, and loan product to fit my client's mortgage goals and overall homeowner lifestyle. So that to me is important because it's not always about like rate, term, or whatnot. It's like it's kind of like the price, condition, and marketing of a home selling. It's the rate, term, and loan product for buyers, because sometimes it's not the lowest payment because they want a 15-year mortgage. So there's a lot of things that come into play there, and it helps a buyer because then they understand, hey, if I'm going to go look at homes and I'm qualified for this payment and I'm comfortable with this payment, this is the price range I can be in. So it makes them a little bit more educated. It helps sellers because if you get not pre-qualified, because there's kind of two things. If you come to me and you're like, hey, here's some of my information, what's my credit like, and here's how much money I make, what could I buy? I can give you a pre-qualification, meaning a rough idea, this is what you qualify for. But when you get me all your documentation, like your pay stubs, your W-2s, your tax returns, bank statements, all that other fun stuff I need, then I can approve you, because I'll put you through the system and you will be guaranteed a loan. Mm-hmm. Sellers get a lot of pre-qual letters, but then it could fall apart once they get all the, between getting, the pre-qual and the loan documentation. And so I like to make sure that our buyers are approved, meaning they can just walk in and all they need to close now is an appraisal. Mm-hmm. And then we can close. And so sellers can go, oh, there's way less of a chance of this falling apart because they're already approved. They're not just pre-qualified. They're actually approved to buy my house. So.
Yeah, and that saves everybody's time. Yes. You don't want to go through all the motions and then they're like, well, we actually can't afford this house.
Yeah. Or, I have, an open bankruptcy. I can't qualify, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's very important. And so what are some of the common financial mistakes you see when it comes to buying or selling a home?
Okay, the number one thing is, I hate using the word control, but controlling the transaction. Being in charge of the transaction, knowing what everyone is doing at any given moment. So we have had buyers. We've learned to counsel our buyers now, both on the mortgage side and on the agent side. Okay, you go under contract. You're like, yes, this is the best house ever. I'm moving from a 2-bedroom and now I'm going to be in a 4-bedroom, and I'm moving from where I had 1 living room, so now I have 2 living rooms. Mm-hmm. This is really exciting for them. They're really falling in love with this house. Mm-hmm. And they're doing all this stuff. They're getting the inspection and, and they're like 2 weeks out from closing and they're like, oh, we need more furniture. And so they go and they finance, I don't know, $10,000 in new furniture, and now they don't qualify for the loan anymore.
Yeah, that happens more often than we think, actually.
I know.
I hear that all the time.
It is tragic because not only do they now have this huge debt that has made them not qualify for the home anymore, but the whole act of applying for the credit dings your credit too. Whether you took the money or not, the whole fact that you applied for credit. So I always tell people, once you are under contract or once you're approved for a loan, don't ever give anyone your social security number, because that means your credit will be pulled, which means that this could totally be negative and could cost you this house.
Right.
And I think that's like the number one financial mistake that buyers make, is not doing that. The second one is being too rate sensitive. Like, well, no, I want 3%. I'm like, almost anyone can give you a 3% interest rate, but it costs you. So if you're going to go after certain interest rates, find out how much it's going to cost to get that interest rate. And people just don't know the questions to ask their lenders.
Interesting. And how about for sellers? Did you see anything?
Financially, I think that they need to be prepared walking in the situation that they may need to fork over some money for repairs for inspection. And they need to have some of that money in the, set aside for something like that. There are sellers, if they're so totally strapped, they have no negotiating power on their side once it comes to the inspection. And I think they have to be willing to work with the buyers to make this, make the transaction happen. In this market, they probably have to do less than normal. Got it. But they still have to have some kind of a cushion to, clean the furnace or get the carpets cleaned or something,
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think one of the difficult part for me when it comes to advising sellers is to really give them kind of like a realistic budget of what they need to cushion for. Because you never know until like you get an inspection and then kind of see. But sometimes the house seems fine, but then inspection comes back said that, oh, you have a crack in your foundation or something like that.
Something crazy. And you never know what's important to buyers either. Because, here we have some buyers that are like, I'm getting a radon inspection and test done, and they're super sensitive about radon. And then you get the next buyer who's like, I don't care, I don't even believe in radon. It's so the sensitive buyer, if the radon is high, you're gonna have to fix it.
Right.
And because you're not going to convince that buyer anything other than you better have that mitigated, but you don't know that. So like I said, one buyer may care about one thing and another buyer may not, or the buyer happens to be an electrician. So he doesn't care about this weird breaker box, but then the next buyer totally cares about that breaker box.
Yeah, exactly. You just never know. That's the
Nope.
thing. Unfortunately, there's no like a very clear-cut answer, but it just really depends on what kind of people you're dealing with.
Exactly. And just being prepared, knowing that, okay, I might have to throw some money at this to make it, make the whole transaction stick together.
And what are some of the things sellers should be aware of when they're looking to refinance their homes?
I think with refinancing, there's why are you refinancing? First of all, if you refinanced or you purchased back in 2013, you probably have the best rate on the planet. So you're probably not going to get a better rate, but people refinance for different reasons. So there's two basic refinances. There's like a cash out. So let's say your home's worth 200, but your loan is only at 100 and you want to get 50,000 out to do something, whatever. It's your money. Who cares? You can get that. You can do a refinance to pull that cash out and you pull it out of the equity for maybe high cost needs. Some people do cash out refinances for education or different marriage or different things like that. And then the other thing is rate or term refinances. So they're like someone who I have somebody I'm working with now is in like a 6.5% ARM. And so they're low right now, but they fluctuate a lot. They're like, I don't want to be in an ARM mortgage rate anymore. I'd like to just be on one solid, I know what my payment is for the rest of my life, rate. And so they'll refinance into something like that, either like a lower rate or a non-moving rate. Or they're like, I have enough equity, or I have a chunk of cash right now. I'm sick of I don't want to be in a 30-year mortgage. I'm 5 years in. I want to just refinance it into a 15-year mortgage, get this thing paid off sooner, and so do something like that. So those are the kind of the options they have. But what they need to be aware of is it's not just rate. So like I said before, the rate will, depending on what you're doing, it may cost you. And sometimes people care more about the term of the loan, like how long it is, than the rate. So they might get a slightly higher rate, but now, their payment is a little bit higher. Their rate might be a little bit higher, but they're only paying for 15 years instead of 30. And honestly, the difference in rate a lot of times only equates to, a few dozen bucks a month in mortgage payment anyway. So it's nice to get a full picture of what the difference is, both in the out-of-pocket cost for the loan and for the monthly cost of the loan.
I see. Interesting. It's so fascinating to me when it comes to money.
Oh, I know. And and the thing is, like, when I'm learning, you thought every real estate transaction is different. Every human on the planet's mortgage transaction is different as well. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something different. Every single loan that I have worked with is different. Even if it's technically the same loan, it's totally different for different reasons. So
That's so fascinating to me. Why do you think that is?
because every human has their own fingerprint, and honestly, that translates to their finances. Nobody saves or spends or misuses money like the next guy.
Interesting. That's true. That's very, very true.
Everyone, is a little bit different. You could have the most frugal people on the planet, and they're still different. They're still frugal in different ways.
So I understand a lot of times deals fall through because of loans for
Mm-hmm.
the buyers. And so what are some of the things that the sellers should think about when they're looking at a bunch of offers on the table? Because sometimes you might get a lot of cash offers, right? Obviously, those are the most preferred ones, but obviously
Yes.
that's not always the case.
No. Clearly, cash is good.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Cash, as long as they've already determined where the cash is coming from. There's a lot of scams out there. You would be surprised how many people we've had to turn down because they got this great inheritance from this Nigerian prince.
Oh,
and we're like, dude, really? Oh, no way. Sorry, but we're not accepting your offer. I know you said it's a cash offer, but you can't be serious. But yes, people do fall for that, and they're like, wow, I'm getting $1 million. I'm going to go look at houses, So there's that.
Unbelievable, right? I can't believe that.
So cash offers, just make sure it's verified, where the cash is coming from. And then there's a few things. One, the story behind the person. One of the reasons we got this house that we're in here is through a story. We were not the best offer, but we accompanied our offer with a letter stating that we wanted to raise our kids here, and it was an estate sale, and the son of the lady whose home it was like, oh my gosh, I was raised here. I would rather sell it to a family who appreciates it than an investor or someone who's going to flip it or whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so the story matters because to them, they're like, wow, you're more invested in this house emotionally. You're going to do what it takes to make this deal go together. And then two, clearly pre-qualified versus approved. An approved buyer is a way stronger buyer than someone who had just said, oh yeah, I guess, I guess they can buy. I think. Yeah. So.
And so I just have one last question for you. What is the one tip you can give to our listeners who are ready to put their home on the market?
I would say the biggest thing to do is to listen. Listen to your agent. Listen to the professionals that you have chosen to hire to represent you in this deal. Again, we do this full time. This is what we do. You do your job full time. We do our job full time. Let us do our job and help you because we know what we're doing. We would love you to be involved, but listen, just really listening to what we have, what we have to offer and how we can help. And also listening to everyone you interview. If you really are listening to everyone you interview, then you are going to, I would say 99% of the time, if you're truly listening, you will find the agent that's the best fit for you.
That's very good advice. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, you were fantastic. Did you have fun?
I did. This was great. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Hey, so that's it for today's show with Mariana Wagner, and I thank you so much for listening today, and I hope you got a lot out of it. I think she was incredibly knowledgeable and also very funny and light about a lot of serious subjects in real estate, which I find it very refreshing and just, I don't know, I just love how honest she is. And it's kind of like this no-nonsense way to go about things, which I think is just fantastic. Anyway, so thank you so much again for listening. So again, if you're listening and you are interested in signing up for the Cash and the Cushions course on how to start your profitable home staging business in 30 days or less, do go on the show notes to sign up for the email list and get notified when the early bird launch special starts. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer in the bootcamp part of the course, feel free to reach out by going to the website at stagemore.com/contact and send me an email from there. If you haven't connected with us on the Facebook group, please do so. I've seen that some of you are going through the home selling process right now and you are asking questions, which is great. Keep asking and I will answer as much as I can. And thank you so much for those group members who have stepped in as well to answer the questions. I'm also currently looking for more guests to be on the show for season 4 and 5. If you know anyone or want to suggest someone, please let me know. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. It's only going to take you less a minute to do so, but it's going to really help us keep the show going and book more fantastic guests like Mariana. So as usual, feel free to ask any questions on the show notes or in our private Facebook group. You can find the show notes by going to www.stagemore.com/podcast. That's it. Have a fantastic week and happy staging.